Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It is an honor, as Majority Leader, to address this distinguished body, to follow our Governor and our two illustrious appropriations chairs. Colleagues and citizens of Pennsylvanians, we are for all Pennsylvanians. Governor Corbett spoke for all Pennsylvanians. Party registration aside, it is our duty to do best by the citizens of Pennsylvania, including those individuals that are paying out of their hard-earned money to fund our government services. First and foremost, we are fiscal stewards, and we have a fiduciary duty and responsibility to take into account that they work every single day and are sending part of that here to Harrisburg. And we need to do like those families and those small businesses and tighten our belts and do more with less. Again, the guiding phrase is we are fiscal stewards. We are fiduciaries, and we do not take that obligation lightly. Fiscal discipline, private sector job creation, limited government. That's what the governor spoke about today. That's what the citizens of Pennsylvania have demanded. That's what the governor set forth in his blueprint for Pennsylvania, and that's what we will deliver. Fiscal discipline, a realistic budget, an on-time budget, a no-tax increase budget, a no-gimmick budget, a budget without reckless borrowing, a budget with prioritized, responsible spending, a budget that not only worries about today's citizens, but that worries about our kids and grandkids and recognizes the legacy that we leave them. As I noted, families and businesses across the state have tightened their belts, and so will we. Private sector job creation, unemployment stands at close to 9%. Folks want private sector job opportunities. We need to make sure, as the governor stated in his address, that we are focused on jobs, jobs, jobs. In the end, each individual in this state wants the dignity and the ability to have a family-sustaining job to provide for themselves and their loved ones. We need to take firm steps to make sure that the environment is better to promote that approach. And limited government, like the governor indicated, we need to certainly prioritize the core functions of government, law enforcement and education. But things like the sale of wine and spirits or other ideas need to maybe be in the hands of the private sector where they can do it better. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about what this budget entails, because there are many responsibilities that are met with the taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. Keep in mind that the total operating budget, if you take into account state and federal dollars, funds beyond the general fund, is $63.6 billion. Colleagues, citizens of Pennsylvania, when we're talking about Governor Corbett's budget, we are talking about how do we appropriately spend $63.6 billion. That is a lot of money that is coming out of taxpayers' pockets, whether it's federal or state. 27.3 of that billion is in the general fund. The governor said that his focus going forward with respect to the investment or use of those tax dollars in the core functions of government should be these principles. And I doubt that anybody disagrees with them. Adhering to fiscal discipline, promoting limited, transparent, and effective government, supporting free enterprise and job creation, funding students and promoting educational excellence, protecting public health and safety, and maintaining the human services safety net. Keep in mind, over the last 8 years, we have been subject to out-of-control spending, over 40% growth when the rate of inflation was less than 20%, reckless borrowing that has put our debt service over $1 billion a year, and increased taxes. Governor Corbett said we need to live within our means, but he's still meeting in his blueprint important services for the citizens of Pennsylvania. Pre-K through 12 education, listen to this number, folks. We will still be, under his blueprint, spending more than $8.6 billion in state funding for the direct support of public education. In fact, the basic education subsidy itself is $5.2 billion in state funds, including $100 million to implement a student-focused funding approach to assist districts to advance student achievement. We are still spending on special needs education over $1 billion. And Pennsylvania Pre-K Count still has $83.6 million for pre-K. Early intervention, $200 million in state funding. And protecting public safety. How about the state police? The budget funds a total of 4,500 almost state troopers by the close of 2011 and 2012. And it provides 1,260 new beds within existing institutions and community correction centers. And it provides $186 million in additional state funding with respect to our correctional institutions. And how about helping Pennsylvanians in need? $440 million in total funds to provide health insurance coverage for over 200,000 uninsured children, an increase of $6.2 million while serving 7,300 more children, doing more with less. Long-term living services. Folks, we're going to spend $4.5 billion on long-term living services. We care about the elderly. We care about the kids. Intellectual disabilities community programs, $2 billion in total funds to provide home and community-based services to more than 50,000 individuals with intellectual disabilities, including $3.7 million in new state funds to provide home and community-based services for 85 individuals currently residing in state institutions. And almost $1 billion in total funds to provide mental health treatment services, including $5 million in new state funds to provide home and community-based services for 90 individuals currently residing in state hospitals. And let's not forget our prescription drug program, which provides almost $270 million in lottery funds to provide prescription drug coverage above the federal government for over 360,000 older Pennsylvanians, an increase of almost 2,000 individuals. You can be fiscally responsible and still care about the citizens of this state. Governor Corbett's budget is a balance. It says we need to get our spending in line. It needs to get rid of reckless borrowing. It says we need to not increase taxes. We need to focus on private sector job growth. We need to focus on core government services. We need to let certain things be done better by the private sector. But we also need to care for Pennsylvanians. And it's a balance. I think it's an outstanding balance. Now, we're going to have to look at the individual lines, and we're going to make some changes as we move forward. But the governor has set appropriate parameters for our discussion, and I applaud him for that. And I want to tell you that I think he has done some bold changes in how we approach government. 103 appropriation line items have been eliminated, 150 appropriation lines have been reduced, and 55 appropriation lines have been consolidated. That is true. But he is making it government more streamlined and more efficient by eliminating, reducing, or consolidating. That's important. We're going to get rid of duplicative efforts, and we're going to be more laser-beamed in how we get the job done here in Harrisburg. I must tell you, I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you to best serve the citizens of Pennsylvania. Each and every one of you. And we will get this important work, an on-time budget, which we have not seen in 8 years. We will get that done, I am quite confident. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to address you and my colleagues.
Speaker, thanks, gentlemen.